So in this session, I want to look at the two main editing softwares that a lot of multimedia journalists are using at the moment. That's Premiere and Final Cut. And I've invited two multimedia journalists based in Beijing, where I am, to tell me a little bit about the functionality and what they like. So let's start with Sharron. And Sharron Lovell is a multimedia journalist in Beijing who uses Premiere. Could you just give us a quick overview of the layout of Premiere?
Yep. I started off working with Final Cut 7, and for me it was a very easy switch because the panels are all the same. You've got your media, you ingest your media here, and it has a nice flip into list view, or you can actually view as thumbnails.
Thumbnails, yes.
These are pictures. If we go down and find some video
in here, yeah.
Then that's kind of nice
you
because
you can scroll across it, so you can get a real quick look about what is there.
Yeah, so that's all very easy. In here is your source. So if I click that piece of video,
you
can easily see what's going on here. Yeah. Scrub through it, in, play, out.
And then drag it down.
And then drag that down. That's already selected, ready to edit in. And here is obviously the whole composited video.
Sure.
So these are playing the individual clips if I want to see them all together
that is
from
what's
my
on
timeline.
Your timeline, yeah. And then the timeline down here is where you lay out your story.
Yeah.
And this is the way that this works is very similar to the way Final Cut used to work. And you can put things further down the timeline. You can throw things down, so later you can come back to it. It's not something which has to be all connected together. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. If I want, maybe I think this is an important clip, but not quite sure whether to put it in or not. Sure. At this stage, I might, drag it to the end for a possibility to use later. Or I might sort of say, well, I know these clips are going to go in my introduction. I want these clips in the middle somewhere. Sure. This stuff is going to be conclusion. Maybe pop that towards the end a little bit. I can sort of have a visual beginning, middle, and end.
And then on the left-hand side, you have all your effects, right?
Yes. And I also have something extra that you have here. I always make a new custom bin, and I would put my faves.
Okay, so you're basically your favourite effects that you're going to use all the time. So they're there to just grab whenever you need them.
Yeah, because if you look, there's so many options here, and realistically, I maybe use 10 on a regular basis. So it's nice to just pop your favourite effects in here.
And what are you on a regular basis, weekly basis? What kind of length videos are you editing on Premiere?
3 minutes. Well, no, anywhere from sort of 30 seconds to a minute or 2 minutes. The longest video I've ever done in Premiere is about 20 minutes.
Right. So it handles those really well for you, right? Yeah. It's something that works well with that kind of length.
Long form,
And it handles DSLR footage okay?
Yes, and the beauty of it is, I think, this is a big changeover actually. When I first started working with Premiere, I had to transcode everything, and then I'm sure we remember those days well.
But nowadays it just handles the DSLR footage or the compact, whatever footage
you've got,
it'll handle it.
It'll handle it. You don't need to transcode anything. You don't even need to know what it is. You could, if we delete this, we could. Because I think this is different from the original you had.
Drag it down.
If I drag that on...
And it's going to tell you this is different from the sequence. So it's asking me here, do I want to keep the existing settings? Or it recognises that this footage doesn't fit the sequence.
Yeah.
And so we're not going to get that horrible red line that we don't know how to deal with and these long render times.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So anything that you would change about, or anything that you you dislike about the editing software?
Yeah, there's nothing specifically I dislike about Premiere, but I have had a kind of look at Final Cut Pro, and it does seem to be, in here there's just there's just small things that make the whole workflow faster and more streamlined.
In Final Cut Pro?
In Final Cut Pro, I think. So
kind of dedicated software for this particular computer, right? But
Yeah.
but this is cross-platform. It'll work on PCs
absolutely.
as well as on Macs.
The beauty of this is that I actually often now have started to work with another editor,
Yeah.
and we often work on things together. He's using a PC,
Okay, perfect.
I'm using Apple, and it's very easy to link those projects up. It takes, a few seconds.
Okay.
One more bonus that I do like very much is the linking with Audition.
Right.
I don't know how that works in other softwares because I have primarily used Premiere, but I find that a great, very easy to use
And it's
switch between.
what they call round tripping. So you come from Premiere into Audition, do your edit on the sound, and then it brings it back, or automatically updates it back into the Premiere project. That's a great feature.
Yeah. For me, I use that all the time.
Okay, so that's it for Premiere. We're now going to have a look at Final Cut. So on this video, we're going to look at Final Cut Pro, the other alternative to Premiere, and I have with me James Bayliss-Smith from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. James is a video journalist working here again in Beijing, who uses Final Cut Pro, right? And I guess there's an increasing number of people working in the TV industry, particularly freelancers, using it. Is that your experience?
I don't know. I mean, I've been living in Beijing ever since it's come out, so I've only really come across people here. So I couldn't really tell you about more generally, but I keep pushing it, and I actually find I'm getting a lot of pushback because people don't really seem to. It got such a bad rep at launch that people are a bit scared of it. Yeah. But I keep sort of telling them, you've got to try it, and yeah, more people are using it, and I know at least 3 or 4 people here who are using it. And
it's quite a big leap from Final Cut 7, isn't it? I mean, when you come from Final Cut 7, you move into Premiere. Things are in the right place.
They call it Final Cut 8 Premiere, right? I mean, it's like sort of based on Final Cut. Well, it isn't, but it's a very easy progression. But yeah, I mean, this is a completely different paradigm, and I think it's kind of like it's not even a learning curve you have to get over. It's like a learning wall. You really just need to just completely start again. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, now I don't think I could possibly go back. It'd almost be as hard to go back as it is to carry on, But it is completely different, but it's much quicker and much better in my opinion. I mean, I love it.
Well, you don't need to convert me. I'm already a convert. It's something that I'm now using. It took me a while to get into it, but I've converted now, and it's very difficult, as you said, to go back. Can you give us just a very quick sort of look around?
Sure. Well, I mean, for me, the things that really stand out is this event browser. Okay, I'm just going to reshape a few of these windows. Sure. But basically, this is the real kind of crux of it for me, because editing such a visual medium, and in Final Cut 7 you had these tiny little sort of what they call thumbnails, and I think you could sort of do some scrubbing where you could see kind of what was in them, but it was just so badly implemented. Whereas here, I can go down here, I can make the clip height a bit bigger. I can make the clip height a bit bigger, and then I can just tab into it, and I can get these thumbnails down to like 5 seconds, and then I can just really quickly, without even watching my footage, kind of find a place. Here you go. He's got a wave in, out. Shake it all about. We've got an edit, down on the timeline. It's just super quick, and I just think that it's that happens to be me surfing. But I just think it's like so quick and it's so visual, and you can just really very, very rapidly organise your footage, see where your shots are and stuff. Especially if you shot it yourself. I mean, it just for a new shooter or somebody doing like a one-man band kind of thing, it's just so much quicker and more efficient.
And that's what you do, right? So you're having to edit very quickly, you're having to edit short news packages, and you find this, a very quick way to do it, is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I don't often have to do real quick turnaround news, but I do that sometimes, and this is, absolutely much quicker, much easier. But also because I work in news, I'm often using footage from months ago, like stock archive footage often that I've shot myself or other people's footage. And again, it's almost like you can use this as your kind of library, your archive library. Whereas before you'd have files, and there might be really a good file naming system for you to find your footage, but you'd still have to go through loads of clips to find bits. Whereas here you can just get them, all your clips in a particular event. You can just go sort of see all of them. You change the grouping so that they're all they all just come up, and then you know, they're all just there, and you can just see them so quickly and find your shots, and you know, like it's just, and you can, you know, make the screen size bigger, and I just think it's really versatile, and you know,
and it's fast, and some of the things that we got frustrated with the old system, like trying to mix different types of footage. If you had some footage from a GoPro and then from an ENG camera, maybe a DSLR, and you're putting it all into the same place, that became very frustrating. Render times, all those kind of things have been taken care of. You don't really have to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I understand it though, Premiere can also handle those sort of things now, but and that's partly the march of technology and all the rest of it. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, you can just throw anything at it. I mean, I've got a brand new MacBook Pro and I just don't transcode anything. Like DSLR footage, GoPro, it handles it all just out of the box.
It can do it straight away.
Yeah, I mean, it's really powerful in that respect. Yeah, definitely.
And is there anything frustrating about it? Is there anything that you wish it had that it doesn't have?
Yeah, there are a few like little things that kind of annoy me. Off the top of my head, I mean, they're kind of like little nitpicky things, but basically, I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, you know, it's yeah. I mean, I could tell you, I can't think of them right now. There are a few little things, but I imagine that's the same with all editing systems. But it really just fulfills my needs.
Sure.
Pretty much, you know.
And this training is mainly aimed at photojournalists who are transitioning into video. I mean, would you recommend it as a
Absolutely,
as a package?
Especially if you've not edited before and you're learning it for the first time. I mean, it's so intuitive to learn. You can just learn it in a day to do the basic stuff, and then you can just build on that. And I would definitely recommend it. If you've already edited on other systems, then it's going to be a bit harder, and perhaps not learn it on a job or something, or, you know, like make sure you have a bit of time to play around with it. But basically, I would recommend it to anyone. I mean, I just think even for like longer form stuff, I mean, the organizational tools with the keyframing, which is quite key, you know, like here we've got 6 keyframes, but you can give any clip any number of different keyframes, you know. I mean, you bring up the keyframe editor, I can just give that clip like 1, 2, 3, control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've just given that clip 5 different keywords. So it's going to appear in these different collections, and you know, there's just the opportunity and for adapting the workflow to how you work is just completely like endless. Really, it's
really good for organising.
Yeah, and I mean, the only limit is your kind of imagination and how to use a program, because the keywording system is so versatile that, you know, you can really just, instead of having to work in one particular workflow, you just create your own workflow based on how you think, you know, as a person, and what makes sense to you, and you're away. I mean, I think it's really good.
It comes by itself with a couple of other sort of add-ons as well, compressor and motion.
I'd definitely recommend getting compressor. And motion, if you're, you know, going to delve deeper, then you could get motion. You don't need to get motion if you're just going to be doing basic editing.
Motion's like After Effects, isn't it?
Yeah, motion's like After. I mean, I haven't personally used it that much, but I use compressor all the time. And compressor works really well with Final Cut, because in this share menu, you can add a destination, and you can just go to your compressor, and you can create your custom settings in compressor, and then just import them all into Final Cut. And then you can just export using compressor, but without even opening compressor. Sure. It just gives you a lot more control.
And it will also send to YouTube and Vimeo. And
absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you don't want to get too technical, yeah, you can just go straight to YouTube. I mean, these are the default ones, straight to YouTube, straight to Vimeo with a password. I mean, you can, in one step, put it onto Vimeo with a password protected video to send to a client or you know, whoever you're working with, in one step. You know, I mean, it's really, really handy for that sort of thing. Facebook as well, look, there you go. Okay. Master file.
Lots of things. So, James, thank you very much. That's the sort of conclusion. I don't think there's a clear winner between Premiere and Final Cut X. But
Final Cut wins.
Well, you know,
I've never used Premiere.
but it's definitely worth looking at both of them and talking to people before you decide. Both have got good advantages and disadvantages.